Hey everybody, how's it going? It's a Daily Shooter, and today I want to talk about the state of the Second Amendment. Where exactly do we stand right now? What's coming up? What are we looking at for our future, and what do we need to do about it? Okay, so what's the state of the Second Amendment today? I think the Second Amendment is in crisis like never before. Yeah, we've had a lot of bad gun control bills come down the pipeline over the past several decades. Some of them have gone through, some of them haven't. We had the '94 Clinton assault weapons ban. That sunsetted in 2004. We've had a lot of bad stuff. We have the NFA. I mean, we have an entire bureau, a department, that basically regulates things. These are unelected officials that simply change gun laws by definition. They change the definition of something, and it instantly makes it illegal. These are unelected officials who are effectively changing what should be protected under the Second Amendment. So, yeah, things have been bad over time. But in today's era, we have politicians who are sworn to uphold and protect the Constitution openly running on platforms that not only include gun control and firearms bans, assault weapons bans, and so forth, but they are openly calling for confiscation. It's no longer a secret anymore. You know, before they used to say, we're not coming for your guns, we're not coming for your guns. But now they're saying, we are coming for your guns. There's a lot of politicians that are running today on the Democratic ticket that are saying, not only are we coming for your guns, but we will offer to buy them back, and if you don't accept our offer to buy them back, we will forcibly remove them from you. So you have people who are already in office, you know, in some form or fashion, that are sworn again to uphold and protect the Constitution, actively saying we're going to strip you of your Second Amendment rights if you do not comply with our demands, essentially. So here's even another reason why I think the Second Amendment is in crisis. I think it's in crisis because the Supreme Court refuses to act. I've been making these videos for years now, and it's extremely rare that you'll ever get a Second Amendment case in front of the Supreme Court. You know, we have a lot of unconstitutional laws that are being passed on a local level, on a state level. These directly infringe on people's rights. I come from the state of California, and I can tell you firsthand that the state of the Second Amendment in California is almost non-existent. They've been able to do what they want because there's almost no oversight. So what happens is you have people like the Firearms Policy Coalition and the CRPA and others that are filing these lawsuits against the states and against the government, and these lawsuits are winding their way through the court systems, and maybe they'll work their way up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and then for whatever reason it is sent to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will sit on it for a while, and then they'll just kick the decision back down to the lower court, even when there are conflicting decisions that show a proof that this needs to be adjudicated at a higher level, the Supreme Court, and that the Supreme Court needs to hear these cases. But they fail to hear these cases. They fail to take these cases. They fail to clarify what the Second Amendment actually means. So without the support of the Supreme Court, who is supposed to be, and we all know that they're not, they're supposed to be unbiased when determining their insight on these issues. The Supreme Court has completely failed us. So you have a federal government, you have state governments, you have local governments, which are pretty much at free rein right now to impose whatever they want, because above the appellate court decisions, nothing's really going to matter. So here's what I have to say. Enough with common sense. Enough with compromise. Enough with public safety. I'm sick and tired of hearing those words. Okay, because here's the thing. Freedom isn't free of safety. Okay, the reason that we're free is because we've determined as a country that we're going to take our own lives into our own hands. We are going to be responsible for ourselves. We're going to be responsible for the work we do. We're going to be responsible for our actions. We are responsible for our own safety. We've determined that as a country, and the founders set that forth in the Constitution, and they gave us the Bill of Rights to make sure that those were protected. So I don't want to hear that it's all about public safety, okay? Because if you want public safety, then, you know, allow people to defend themselves. That's one way to ensure public safety. If you take away all of the firearms from the people that are good and law-abiding, which is a great community all around. I mean, these are the people who commit the least amount of crimes in the entire country. But if you were to let the law-abiding community actually defend themselves without restricting their Second Amendment rights, you would see that the criminals out there who are not affected by these laws at all would have less of a chance of inflicting their crime on innocent people, because they would at least, one, again, worry that the person that they might be going after could actually fight back and be on an equal playing level. Right now, it's not an equal playing level. You have the criminals up here who could give a crap about your laws, and then you have the law-abiding citizen who could be disarmed by their state, not allowed to carry at all, or even be able to defend themselves because there's some laws that require you to lock things up and keep things unloaded and so forth. And it's just, again, it is a complete sham what's going on here. And I don't want to hear about compromise. There is no compromise. You cannot compromise our rights away. And when it comes to compromise, compromise is give and take. It's give and take on both ends. That's what makes a compromise. I'll give you this, you give me this, we've compromised, we walk away from the table. Everybody's happy. But this is not a compromise. This is, we want to ban everything, but instead what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we'll just ban this specific type of firearm. And they call that a compromise. So instead of actively going after every single firearm and completely overturning the Second Amendment together, they think that it's a compromise just by simply saying we'll only take a little bit. The problem is that every little bit is a chip. And so as they chip away at things, and they say compromise again, we just need to compromise. You know, when it comes to red flag laws, we need to compromise. Assault weapons ban, we need to compromise. When it comes to semi-automatic bans, we need to compromise. You can see how each one of those chips adds up to their overall final goal. What do we get out of it? Oh, well, we were allowed to let them have this, but at the same time, we didn't get anything for it. They're just going to continue to infringe on our Second Amendment rights. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, there's public safety, which is an issue, allow us to defend ourselves, and then there's compromise. We don't get any of it. So right now, all that's happening is our compromise is leading to us losing our rights at a slow pace. That's it. Now, to be honest with you guys, I could keep going on this topic all week. I can make hundreds of hours of videos and still never talk about all the anti-Second Amendment stuff going on in this country. But I'll leave you guys with one more thing. I also think the Second Amendment is in crisis because the First Amendment is in crisis right now. We have elected officials actively acting against the First Amendment. As a matter of fact, they have weaponized the First Amendment in order to consequently attack the Second Amendment. So what we have here is a group that has now changed something by using words, definitions, and terminologies in order to achieve their goal and agenda, which is to cut us off from the First Amendment and then attack the Second Amendment. Now, if you guys want an example of what I'm talking about, hate speech. If you want to talk about hate speech, that is still speech, right? It ends in speech. Now, while they don't like this type of speech and they think that this type of speech is wrong, and even I would agree with that. I would believe that a lot of the speech that I hear out there from a lot of these different groups is completely wrong. I think that their ideas and their ideals are also completely wrong, but they have a right to say it. As long as they're not actively threatening something, you know, or threatening somebody where they're going to come after somebody or something like that, I think that their speech should be protected. They have a right to say what's on their mind. They have a right to disagree with you. They have a right to be as hateful as they want and say the most hateful things that they want, because that is their right. It is protected under the Constitution. And if you don't believe that that's a right, then you shouldn't believe that the Second Amendment is a right either. Because even though you disagree with what somebody has to say, and you can go ahead and you can, you know, stand up in front of them and try and make some noise and, you know, drown them out. That's, again, your First Amendment right to do that. You have a right to disagree with what they disagree with. I mean, that's just how the First Amendment works. But the problem is the First Amendment is now being weaponized by changing words and definitions so that these people can achieve their agenda of silencing everybody, pretty much. Now, another thing is they're using the First Amendment to attack the Second Amendment because they take words, terminologies, and definitions and they change them at will. You don't know how much power a definition has. So if you take a Ruger 1022 and you change the definition of what is now considered an assault weapon, okay, these are one of those weapons they're trying to ban, and you say that anything that can accept a detachable magazine is now going to be considered an assault weapon, you've now actively banned the Ruger 1022. Which is just a 22 caliber small plinking rifle. You know, that's something that my grandfather used to hunt squirrel. It's just a very simple rifle. It doesn't have any of the evil features other than that detachable magazine. But if you add that to the definition of what an assault weapon is, again, another made-up phrase, well, guess what you've done? You've put it in the category of things that a lot of the people who we've elected support banning. I mean, that's the simple truth. So we have words and phrases that are actively being changed in order to achieve an agenda, and we're also having the First Amendment attacked specifically because any speech that they don't like should be considered another phrase, and therefore it should be banned as well. So this is a very scary time. It really is. I mean, over the past even just 5 years, 6, 8 years, watching the degradation of the Bill of Rights has been just astounding at how fast the pace is moving. We have active socialists that are running for the highest office in our country. We have socialists that are currently in Congress, which I never thought I would say, but it is... yeah, it's a scary time, and it's going to be up to us. It's not up to the politicians. The politicians have already shown their colors. They, again, like I said, they fold like paper. So it's going to be us, the people, to, eventually make sure that, the Second Amendment, our Bill of Rights, stays intact. That's all there is to it. It's up to us. So what I would do is I would support your local groups that, already have a foothold on this thing. Support your local groups like the Firearms Policy Coalition that make sure that our rights are being protected or at least fought for on a daily basis. I can tell you right now from firsthand experience and talking to these people, it is their passion, and that's what they fight for every single day. So make sure you check that link in the description box. Sign up, become a member when you can. And if Firearms Policy Coalition isn't the group for you, make sure you put your money towards a group that is for you. Even though the Firearms Policy Coalition sponsors this channel, I'm all for supporting whatever gun group can help keep our Second Amendment rights intact. If that's Gun Owners of America, if that's the CRPA, whatever it is, if you feel that they're the one that's best for you, make sure you do your part to make sure that we have a foothold in this country so that they just can't continue doing what they're doing. We're going to fight back as much as possible. There's a lot of new groups out there. Anyway, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I implore you that when the election comes up, to vote and do what you can to fight for our Second Amendment rights. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.